talk. This talk will be on why we laugh, all the emotions involved in humor. So humor has been a topic of intrigue and mystery for centuries. So what triggers that delightful release of joy, amusement, and sometimes even tears? So today, our speaker here today will aim to unravel these questions and more. So to guide us through this exciting journey, we have an exceptional moderator whose enthusiasm for the subject are unparalleled. And our moderator is a renowned expert in scientific communication. And ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the brilliant and dynamic Professor Dr. Ahmad Ibrahim. So before we pass the floor to him, let me introduce Dr. Ahmad. Dr. Ahmad is a chemical engineer in training, and he received his PhD in wastewater engineering from the Newcastle University. So he spent a year at the Cornell University, US, under a Fulbright Hubert Humphrey program. And he started his career at the Rubber Research Institute of Malaysia. And after that, he joined the Palm Oil Research Institute and later became the Director of Market Promotion with the Malaysia Palm Oil Promotion Council. So he has worked as the Vice President of Research at SIRING at Malaysia University of Science and Technology. He was one of the CEO of the Academy of Sciences Malaysia from 2011 to 2014. So currently, he's now a professor of chemical engineering in UCSI University, and he developed a strong command in many disciplines in science and technology, and also especially in communication for science. So he regularly contributes to the NST and also the STAR, spoken on national, international level on the subject of sustainability and innovation. So overall, he has contributed to the scientific research and development, the S&T policies for Malaysia, and public awareness of the S&T. So Professor Dato' Ahmad will lead our discussion today and introduce our distinguished speaker. And let's give him a round of applause. And
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Kevin. Thank you for that kind introduction. I'm not sure whether they're all true. But I was expecting more people to come because we are learning from the expert how to laugh. So apparently UCSI people are not interested in laughing. Maybe many of you are very stressful, but this is what it's all about, how to use laughter to de-stress. But we are fortunate that we have a number of people, colleagues from outside, who is also very fascinated about this talk on laughter. I will not go through all this, what has been written about Dr. Sunthar, but we had lunch just now. I know that he is Malaysian, and he was from VI. Of course, I was from MCKK. We were rival, but we always beat them at soccer. Yeah. So today, what we're going to have is Dr. Sunthar will give his presentation, will share his views about why we laugh and are all the emotions included in humor. In fact, I just want to say that I used to travel to India a lot those days because I was involved in promoting palm oil. So whenever I went to Mumbai, there are this group of people, they call it the laughing group. So every weekend, yes, every weekend they'll meet on the beach, then they all start laughing. And you know, laughing is very contagious. So I thought maybe we start with laughing first before. So who wants to start the laugh? I know if somebody starts, it will be very contagious. Everyone will start laughing. I know Prof. Mansur knows this. He's a psychologist. And anyway, we would like to invite Prof. Dr. Sunthar to share his thoughts on this. And I'm hoping that there will be questions raised after his presentation so that we can have more discussion about this very important topic of humor. And hopefully, after the talk, everyone will improve their sense of humor. Please, Dr. Sunthar.
Yes, friends, I thank our host UCSI on behalf of everyone attending, both in person and virtually, for all the Malaysian hospitality. I'm also grateful to Deputy Vice Chancellor Professor Fang Siu Moy for inviting me to lead our discussion on this seemingly unserious topic in the informal setting of your tea for thought conversations. In fact, I would like this to be more kind of an exchange and conversation with you contributing almost as much rather than me just talking to you. So I also thank Professor Dato Ahmad Ibrahim, who I'm told is a fun-loving and humorous person, as we have to see, for having accepted to moderate. And Kelvin Lee was most gracious and proactive in coordinating behind the scenes to make all this possible. So, my 1984 PhD was on Abhinavagupta's conception of humor, and which proposed a cross-cultural theory of humor and laughter. Abhinava was a 10th century philosopher, mystic, aesthetician, and sage. He's like the Indian equivalent of Ibn al-Arabi in the Islamic civilization. Proposed the theory of being and everything, but one distinguishing thing is he was India's most important commentator and thinker on aesthetic theory, all aspects of the arts. He wrote a very important commentary on theatre, and theatre in India is considered the summum bonum of the arts. All the arts are in a sense of theatre. So the thing is, when I started reading him, he makes some very enigmatic statements on humor and laughter that no one could make sense of. So in my PhD, I try to do so through extensive research in contemporary Western psychology, sociology, linguistics, etc. And what I'll attempt to do here is I won't start with him. What I'll attempt here is to just communicate the gist of the kind of universal formula that I think is implied in his enigmatic statements, but as a response to why, when, and how you laugh. This way, we may benefit from the conversational format of the series, Tea for Thought series. So what I would like to start with is, we all laugh, but if you look at, if you sort of compile a list of all the reasons why people laugh, you'll end up very confused. Because people laugh for the most diverse and even contradictory reasons. So what I would like to do is, I would like to start with 10 volunteers. So we alternate between this hall and our virtual participants. I think there are at least 7 of them. So after all, since we laugh, you must have at least some notion as to what we typically find funny. So I request that you please venture a single, I'm sure you may have perhaps more than one reason, single, concise circumstance when you laugh. Then we will try to get back to at least some of these points, some of from your personal experience, not from reading or from books, or from what you think. Just, you must have seen yourself laughing at many different kinds of situations, so from your experience. So, since you wanted to start laughing and you tried to make everybody laugh, I think it's only right, Dr. Kamal, as a moderator, that would you please take the first plunge and say when you laugh, because we can see that you laugh a lot. So, yes.
Oh, I laugh a lot at our politicians.
Okay, yes, but what you laugh? I mean, what is it that makes you laugh about
Because
the
they talk
politicians?
nonsense. That's why I laugh.
So when you hear people talking nonsense,
Yeah, I laugh.
you laugh. Okay, very good. Talking nonsense. Okay. So maybe now, another thing I will request is, when you give a reason, only propose something which is new. Like he has said, he laughs when it's nonsense. Don't say that I also laugh when people speak nonsense. Say something new. There are more than 10 reasons. I have about 25, 30 reasons. So,
Yes, from the today.
So maybe, are there any volunteers from the virtual? Calvin? Are there any virtual? Oh, okay, very good.
Yeah.
Sometimes if I'm in a nervous setting, I
Yes.
laugh to ease the tension of the room.
Okay,
Or when you're nervous.
yes, very good, very good. Nervous as a cathartic function, yes? Nervousness. Very good. And anybody online? If not, we can go back to the hall.
For those online, you can unmute your mics to interact with us. We can interact with you here.
Or do you laugh when you don't get your bonus?
I go.
Yes, please.
From Mansur.
In my therapy work, most of my male clients, before they cry, they laugh.
In your therapy work,
Yeah.
before they laugh, they cry.
Male client.
Male client, okay, this is very interesting. The first time I'm hearing this. Male clients cry before they laugh. Could you just say a little bit more? Because
No, I
it's
think the other way around, is
So
it?
intriguing. Cry before they laugh.
So
So
he triggered me just now because
when do they transition from crying to laughing? What happens before they start laughing?
I think they want to escape the feeling first.
They want to escape the distress.
Yes.
Okay.
So they laugh first
Cry before, very good.
No, they laugh first before they cry.
before they cry.
Oh, they laugh first before
Yeah,
they
before
cry,
they
not
cry.
cry first before
Right.
they laugh. Okay, I thought
I
you
usually
said
observe that among male clients, but not female clients.
laugh
So
before
female, they
they
cry first.
Very good. No, this still fits in with what I'm going to say. So, so we are getting there. All right. Any more?
Ah, yeah.
I think it's partly cultural, but I enjoy irony.
Irony. Very good.
Irony.
So when there is something which are an opposing perceptions, the same thing.
So people can be deluded, or they, I'm trying to think, for example, the irony of politicians playing the religious card.
Okay. Which happens all the time. Especially in India. Okay. Yeah, already 4, now 6 to go.
We have a raise of hand online. Ramanan, you can unmute your mic.
Hi, this is Malini. Well, I think sometimes laughter is used like a weapon, and you kind of laugh just to irritate the other person, especially when sometimes you don't have answers, and then you just laugh and kind of irritates the other person. And especially when I'm having an argument with my husband, and he's like cornered, and then he would just laugh, which would further irritate me. So yeah, people laugh just to it's like a weapon. I may have done it sometimes myself. Okay.
Thank you. It's a weaponization of laughter. Okay, we'll definitely get to that. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Nalini.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Let's see if we can get 5 more quickly. So at least I'll have some time left to talk.
Come on, don't be too serious.
Yeah, we want to have a wide diversity of.
Well, sometimes I hear trainers or speakers when they start training, they don't want to sound too serious for too long, so they laugh to ease the tension, I think, to ease the tension. Sometimes they laugh at themselves, their own mistakes. It's more like to make the situation a bit more enjoyable, less tense, and
Yes.
more approachable.
Diffuse tension. Yes, American speakers, especially scholars, even when they give talk, they always begin with a joke to diffuse the tension in the room. Sometimes half the talk is jokes. So you find it especially among American speakers. Yes, thank you. Okay.
Okay.
Four more.
Hey, Dr. Young.
Prabhakaran.
Hi.
Yeah,
I laugh whenever my kids laugh to me, and I think the kids' laugh are very contagious. So every time when they laugh, I'll just laugh together.
Contagious laughter. He mentioned at the beginning, contagious laughter. Why is laughter so contagious? Okay. And then? Yes, please.
Yeah, sometimes when it's too chaos, something like disorders in different ways, which is not really, sometimes makes me laugh. I mean, the chaos in the in order things, in different ways, in politicians, in classes, or different situations, when it's a lot of chaos, then I feel like, I don't know whether it's ease or something, it makes me funny, it's the thing funny for me.
Yes, a kind of chaotic situation.
Yes.
In a sense, it approaches what Dr. Gama said about nonsense, because nonsense is language, people talking linguistically, but here things are happening which is also like a kind of nonsense, right?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Okay, two more.
Two more.
Yes, you're doing well.
Come on.
Okay. We sometimes feel something is nonsense and illogical.
Illogical.
Yeah, and especially something happened and it's not unexpected.
Yes.
So yeah, that's way of being funny.
Yes. Illogical and unexpectedness.
Yeah.
Suddenness, unexpectedness. Yes. I had to distinguish suddenness as a cause of laughter from incongruity, one entire chapter. Illogical and unexpectedness. Very good. And last one, number 10, can go on. Anyone else online? Kelvin?
Anyone online, feel free to unmute your mic.
okay.
Can I go?
Yes, feel free.
I laugh when I'm around the people that I'm most comfortable with. Without any context, usually, yeah.
So you feel okay sharing the laughter of people whom you sort of trust and have some kind of conviviality with, rather than with strangers?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Okay, Prabha, you can end it.
Yeah, in my childhood, I used to be very angry most of the time. So, one solution to this anger would be my siblings would tickle me, physically. So, automatically we'll burst into laughter, regardless of the anger, all the anger have been forgotten.
Okay.
So, this is a physical thing. I don't think it will fit in well with what Dr. Sundar has.
No, actually anger is one of the ways in which it's very central to laughter, because very often when people are angry, you can't go and beat that person up. So what you make is you make a very bad, sarcastic, malicious joke. So everybody laughs. In that way, you get everybody on your side against that person, right?
Yeah.
Very often, that's how politicians, one of the ways they use jokes is like that. They joke about you see Biden and Trump, you'd think they're small kids in kindergarten, right? I don't know whether you follow, but they make jokes, really very nasty jokes about each other, so that their followers will all laugh at the opponent. And they go on by tickling. Okay, very good. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to, on this, I'm going to point out some of the kind of problematic things, problematic aspects of humor and laughter, which has made it is an unsolved problem in Western thought. There are lots of very good art theories about humor and laughter, but none of them is comprehensive. And you take, for example, Bergson and Freud. They have both of them wrote a book on laughter and humor, but they say exactly the opposite thing. And both are actually right. If you see, they give so many examples of what they're saying, and you can say, so that becomes bewildering. Why do people react to such a, see, laughter is triggered by a bewilderingly, wide variety of situations. This is the problem I try to solve. So let's see. Okay. Somebody spoke about nervousness and tension. So when I posted this, this flyer to my Malaysian Association of Illinois group, unfortunately they can't attend because of the time difference. One of my good friends there, a Malay woman, she was also doing therapy and psychology. This is what she wrote. I'll just read it out for you. To show that this is actually one of the most common reasons for laughing when you're in a distressful situation. So here, let me just see. Okay. I'm looking at two screens at the same time. Okay. Can you read it? This is one of my biggest, this is what she wrote in our group. She wrote this publicly. One of my biggest reasons for laughing is quite paradoxical. I laugh when I am anxious, nervous, probably stemming from having nothing to say at any given tense moment. It's actually avoidance, not always healthy, and a form of hiding from myself. Our bodies are probably the most advanced machine on earth, having innate and instinctual built-in systems for self-protection and self-preservation. And that's it for me, very true. I realize my anxiety and nervousness are frequently masked by a deeper core emotion, which is rage. Anger, which is rage, and which I fear would discharge into aggression if it wasn't dealt with laughter. There is also fear, because in raging I fear myself, I fear what transgressions will be inflicted on others, I fear losing my sense of self. So for example, while we were doing our doctorates in Benares, we had a Malaysian Chinese friend who was also studying about places in India, in the same university. And he was a jovial person. So one day he suddenly knocked on our door, he came in, and he was telling us what happened. He was laughing and telling us what happened. And what had happened was he had gone to the railway station for an important research trip with his suitcases and everything. For a moment when he just came out of the train, everything was stolen, which is quite common in India, people steal your baggage or everything. So the thing is that he was actually in a very distressful thing. At the same time, he was laughing, telling us the story. So there are people like that, more, it depends on your personality type, I guess, as well. So
but they say if you are laughing when presenting a story, then
yes,
you cannot be a good comedian. The comedian,
they wait.
They wait, yeah.
They trick you into laughing.
Yeah.
So they laugh, they give it away. Yes. So the causes of laughter are so diverse, even contradictory, that it would seem impossible to offer a single self-consistent theory of humor, especially one that would apply across all places and times. So this is what I was foolhardy enough to attempt in my PhD. Now, I mention these in particular because Ahmad is a chemist. Of course, he's not biochemistry, but this is not just a question of psychology. It is also a question of health, physical health, psychosomatic. See, laughter has a very strong relation to negative emotions. We just saw anger, sadness, distress. So the laughter acts as a kind of a catharsis. It lets you as an outlet to to your negative emotions. And Professor Pan told me this morning that, oh, you know, I laugh all the time at work. If I don't do that, I can't manage the stress. So you see, in the work environment as well. So a very famous case is somebody called Norman Cousins, a very famous figure. He was editor of a very well-known review. So he was diagnosed with a kind of a disease which the doctor said was fatal and there was no cure. So he locked himself up in a room, and what he did was he watched movies, funny movies, one after the other. Especially there's a very famous comedians in the US called the Marx Brothers, Groucho Marx, etc. So, and what happened miraculously, he just by laughing for maybe a week or so, he ended up curing himself. The doctors themselves were surprised. It is such a famous case that I think in Princeton University they now have a wellness center just named after him in the medical faculty to study the relationship between psychology and physical illness actually. So this is, I mean, it's a laughing, so laughing is also a very serious thing, right? See, Cousins did research on biochemistry of the human emotions, which he long believed were the key to human success in fighting illness. It was a belief he maintained even as he battled in 1964 a sudden onset case of a crippling connective tissue disease. Told that he had one chance in 500 of recovery, Cousins had self-induced bouts of laughter brought about by films of the television show Candid Camera and by various comic films. I made the joyous discovery that 10 minutes of genuine belly laughter, so this is what the Indians are doing in Mumbai, not just Mumbai, Delhi, many cities. By 10 minutes of genuine belly laughter had an anesthetic effect and would give me at least 2 hours of pain-free sleep, he reported. When the pain-killing effect of laughter wore off, we would switch on the motion picture projector again, and not infrequently it would lead to another pain-free interval. His struggle with that illness and his discovery of laugh therapy is detailed in his 1979 book, Anatomy of an Illness as Perceived by the Patient. So now I'm going to basically go into the many kinds of contexts in which there is laughter and why it's so difficult to make sense of it. Okay. So the main point I want to make is humor cannot be a unitary emotion. What I mean by unitary, like sadness, anger, fear, disgust, curiosity, enthusiasm. These are all unitary emotions. They're very clear contours what the emotion is. You can recognize it as such. But the problem with humor is it very often tinged with some other emotion. Like when you make a very malicious joke against somebody to defame somebody, there is aggression involved. Most racist jokes, there are lots of racist jokes you make against another race to exclude them, right? So similarly, there is jokes which are connected with fear. So if you are a developmental psychologist and you study, look at the children's behavior during interval in school, they are chasing each other, the child who is running is very afraid, and then suddenly she starts laughing, and then she's afraid again. Or the mother playing with the child, hiding her face and wrinkling her face. Child gets scared and then laughs. So like this, say disgust. So a lot of people make a lot of dirty jokes. So what is there in a dirty joke? A scatological joke. It's a mixture of disgust and something else, right? Disgust and relevant sexuality. So there is such a thing as laughter, but it is very often mixed with seemingly contaminated by some other emotion. And that's why I'm saying that humor cannot be a unitary emotion. So I'm going to ask a number of questions in addition to the questions you've asked, but these are like more theoretical questions. So the one question is, do people laugh because of an external stimulus, or do they laugh because of an inner compulsion? Some people just laugh because they need to laugh. So whether there is an external stimulus, something joke or something, even if it's not there, they feel the need to laugh, they laugh, you know. Other people, they won't laugh, but when something is really funny, then they laugh, you know, in external. Sometimes it's both. Sometimes when people are laughing, it's because the two, both these kinds of triggering influences are there. Then the other question is, what evolutionary or other function do they serve? Why did people, most of the human emotions, you can link them to survival. You know, you approach something which is good for you, you have a positive emotion, and you approach. Or if like anger, disgust and all of this, they actually help you to survive by avoiding things which are bad for you. Fear, if you don't fear the tiger will eat you up. You need to run, see? But then what about laughter? It doesn't seem to play any evolutionary role. Can incongruity qualify as a legitimate stimulus? See, for example, he said that irony makes him laugh, right? Irony. So irony is also a form of incongruity. See, maybe somebody is saying something and then his actual behavior is showing something the opposite. So there's a kind of incongruity. Politicians will laugh because it's incongruous. They say certain things, but actually you see something else happen to the opposite. So, but the problem is, incongruity is a relationship on the outside. It's a relationship between two things. It is not a stimulus in itself. If you look at the behavioral research in the West, you have a stimulus, you have an organism, and the organism responds to the stimulus. So if you look at it from that point of view, incongruity, which is a relationship outside between two aspects, two contradictory aspects of something, it cannot in itself be a stimulus. I'm just trying to get you through the complexity of the questions which I had to deal with. Why so infectious? Why so infectious, even when the incongruity is not seen? So for example, you know, there's something happening outside in the street. I'm sitting in my chair. My wife looks out of the window and she starts laughing. And I haven't even seen what she's seeing and I start laughing. You know, so this happens often, right? Like you, when your children are laughing, you just feel like laughing, you know. They're laughing itself, especially because they're so well disposed to them. Already wants to make you laugh. Because there is also probably something else in addition, which is a way of bonding with your children, right? Because you laugh with them. So then, is the stimulus of laughter, is it exclusive? That is to say, we have a stimulus of anger, we have stimuli of fear, we have stimuli of disgust, we have stimuli of curiosity. So these are all stimuli which are relatively exclusive, specific to that emotion. But the stimulus of laughter, is it exclusive? Are there stimuli which produce laughter and don't produce any other emotion? Or does laughter share its stimuli with other emotions, which is what we actually spoke about just now with regard to anger, fear, and all of that. Can you laugh when distressed or only when happy?